So now guys, we are going to understand SQL practically. So we are going to start our journey with the very basics. We'll understand how we can create a database, then how we can use that database, how to create a table inside that database, insert some records, deletion, updation, modification. So basically, basic commands we are going to cover first. In order to practice our SQL queries, I'm going to use WAM server. WAM server will provide us an SQL console and we can use that SQL console for writing up SQL queries. So first of all, how we can use this WAM? Okay, we need to search for the WAM. Here you will be going to have this suggestion start WAM server 64. You can just click on it. And here we need to wait until our WAM icon will turn into green. Okay, it's orange now, and now you can see that finally it is green. Now the moment when your WAM icon will become green, we need to click on it. From here we need to select MySQL, and this MySQL option will provide you SQL console. In this SQL console we can write up our SQL queries. At the starting it will ask a password from you. As of now we don't have any password, but in my case I have, so I'll just write my password. In your case you don't have any password, so just simply press an enter. And now you can see that from here you can start writing up an SQL queries. Okay, here you can see that our cursor is blinking. Here we can practice, or here we can write our SQL queries. So we are going to follow an approach. First we are going to understand how to create a database. Then I'll show you how we can use that database. We'll create table inside it and we'll insert some records. Okay, so first we'll understand the basics and then we'll proceed towards advanced part. So guys, first of all have a look onto my screen. So here first of all I'll show you how we can create a database. In order to create a database, we are going to write this SQL query, create database, and then we need to write our database name. Okay, so database name you can write it in a lowercase, but create database command, remember in theoretical part I tell you we use SQL commands in an uppercase. It's a recommended approach, however it is not mandatory. Okay, it is not mandatory, it is a recommended approach. So even if we are going to write create database in a lowercase, it will work. So create database, and then I am going to give the name of my database SQL training 1. Okay, so this is going to be my database, or we can just give it a simple name SQL training. Now this command we need to terminate with semicolon. Okay, here you can see at the end I am going to put what I am using semicolon. Now the moment when you press enter, you will be going to have this option query OK 1 row affected. That means your database is created successfully. So guys, you can see that our database is ready. Now if you want to check whether your database is being created or not, we can use this command show databases. Now what this command will do, it will show you the databases you have in this console. So if I type this show databases and if I terminate this with semicolon, the moment when I press enter, you can see certain databases will be displayed to you, out of which information schema, okay, is performance schema is by default. Okay, you don't need to worry about. But here one thing you need to check, that your database is being created. If in this column you are able to find out your database name, that means your database has been created. Okay, so if you want to check how many databases you are having already, or you want to check whether your database is created or not, you can use this simple command show databases. It will show you how many databases you have already have, and it will show you newly created database information as well. So please execute this command show databases. So once we have our database, now it's time to use it. See, here you can see that I have multiple databases. So that means I cannot start writing up, or I cannot create table directly. First of all, we need to tell that which database we are going to use. Okay, if I write command create table and if I try to create table, this SQL console will going to give me an error. Why? Because first of all we need to tell that we need to use this database, and inside that database we need to create a table. Okay, so whenever you create a fresh database, then this is the important command use, and then here you need to specify the name of your database. Here you are doing what? You are giving an instruction that from now onwards I will be using this database. So if I'm going to create any table, if I'm going to modify any record, that everything will be happen inside this database. So what this use command will do, it will select your database. Okay, and now you can see you are going to have this message database changed. That means if now we try to create a table, that table will be created inside SQL training. So guys, in a database we are going to have collection of tables. Okay, suppose you are working in a university as a database administrator and you need to create certain table. One table you are going to create for student, another table you are going to create for faculties, and another table you are going to create for staff. So in a database you can have multiple tables. Now how we can create table? Command is very simple. All you need to do is you just need to type create table, and here you need to specify the name of your table. Okay, create table. So here the name of my table, let's say, will be student. Okay, so this is going to be the name of my table, create table student. And now we need to tell the fields information. Fields means that what will be going to be your title. Okay, if you remember this PDF, here these are the field: ID, name, age, course. These are what? These are the fields. So first of all we are going to write up this query, create table student. Then you need to use parenthesis. Okay, then you can see we need to use parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis we need to specify the field. So my first field will be ID. Now in ID, what kind of an information you would like to store? So here I am going to write integer, int. That means in ID we are going to store some numeric information, and that numeric information will be in integer format. So this is my first field. Field name, guys, here is ID, and integer is what? It's a data type. So always remember the syntax. First you are going to write the field name. What kind of information you are going to store in this field, then you need to define that. Okay, comma, and here now I am going to create another field. Here I am going to create name. Now in name, what kind of an information I am going to store? I am going to store textual information, text. Then I am going to use one more field, let's say course. And in course, what type of information I am going to store? I am going to store text. Okay, as of now in this table I am going to store only 3 fields, okay, or 3 information: ID, name, and course. So in ID we are going to store integer, in name we are going to store text, and in course we are again going to store textual information. Now again, important rule, after this parenthesis you need to use semicolon. Okay, and simply press enter. So you can see query okay, 0 rows affected. That means your table is being created. So this is the syntax, guys, which we are going to follow whenever we are going to create an SQL table. So guys, you can see that here our table is being created. Now if you want to check whether this table is created inside your database or not, then we can use this command desc describe. Okay, or what we can do is, first of all I would like to show you this command show tables. Now first of all, what this show tables command will do, it will show you that how many tables you have in your database SQL training. So if I press enter, you can see that in our SQL training we have only one table as of now, and the name of that table is student. So whenever you want to check how many tables you already have in your database, use this command show tables. And let me tell you one more thing, this show tables command will work only when you select your database. Okay, So the first, you need to select your database, and if you want to check how many tables we have in this database, use this command show tables. Now if you want to check the schema diagram, okay, or let's say if you want to check the structure of your table. Structure means, suppose you're working in a company, okay, and a responsibility will be given to you. There was an XYZ company, and in that XYZ company previously there was a developer who was working on SQL tables. Now he left, okay, and that company has hired you. So first of all, obviously you will check that what exactly the structure of this table is. So how you can check the structure of a table? Because once the table is being created, how you will came to know that what exactly the fields is, what kind of an information in this field we can store. So it's very simple. You can use this command DESC, describe, and you can specify the name of your table. Now what this DESC command will do, it will going to give you the structure of your table. So you can see that these are our field ID, name and codes. What kind of an information we can store in this field? We can store integer. 11 is the limit, okay. In integer we can have only 11 length limit, okay. That means 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 means that we can store only this much of information, okay. It should be 9 values, like 9 8 9, okay, like this one. It should be only 11 in length. Then in text we don't have any limit. Course is text. Null means whether they can have null values or not. They can have null values, okay. Very soon I'll show you. Null value means if I'm going to insert a record, okay, imagine a scenario that I'm going to insert a record and I accidentally forgot to put the course information. So whether this field course can have the null value, it's saying that yes, it can have, okay. And if you're not going to write any value inside course, what will be its default value? The default value of it will be null, okay. Suppose you are inserting some records and you forgot to put the course detail. First of all, this course can have the null values. However, we can restrict, okay. If you don't want these fields to have null values, we can change it. But as of now we have created simple table, so this course can have the null value, and if we are not going to specify anything, then its default value will be null. So this is how we can create a table. This is how we can check how many tables we have in our database, and this is how we can check the structure of our table. So as you can see that our table is been ready. Now it's time to insert some record in this table. Now how we can insert a record in this table? It's quite simple actually. Here we are going to use this SQL command insert. Then you are going to write where you are going to insert. So we are going to insert this record into your table name. So insert into table name. Now here there are two ways using which you can insert your record. The first one is you can specify the field first, that my first record should be inserted in ID, my second record should be inserted in name, and my third record should be inserted in course, okay. So generally we need to write the field name as well, that we are going to insert into this table, okay. First record will go to the ID, second record will go into the name, third record will goes inside this course, okay. And now here you need to use this SQL command values. So this is the syntax of inserting a record into table. Insert into table, ID, name, course, and then in these parentheses you are going to specify the values. So let's say my first value will be 1. That means 1 goes inside my ID. Second information, you can see we have text, okay. So guys, text you need to write either in a double quotes or in a single quotes. So it's totally depends on you. Either you can use single quotes or you can use double quotes. But remember, if you are playing with the string data type, you have to write your information in quotes. So the name will be, let's say, John, okay, and the course will be, let's say, he is enrolled for SQL, Okay, so this is going to be your syntax. So please do not make any spelling mistake. You can see insert into table, ID, name, course, and which values you are going to insert in this field. One will go to the ID, John will goes to the name, and SQL will go into the course. And the moment when I press enter, you can see that query OK and one row affected. That means one record has been inserted successfully. Now what happens if I don't write this ID, name and course? See, if I don't write this ID, name and course, and if I try to insert the values directly, let's say to Alex, and suppose he is enrolled for MySQL. Now what will happen? The moment when I press enter, you can see again we are going to have the same message, query OK, one row affected. Now you may be wondering that this is the shortcut. I agree that this is the shortcut, but this command will guarantee that one will goes into the ID, John will goes into the name, and SQL will goes into the course. So it's a recommended approach. However, you can see that as of now we are using only 3 fields, but in the future you are going to deal with 20 or 30 columns. This particular command will guarantee that one will go to the ID, John will go to the name, and SQL will go to the course, because sometimes it has been observed that if you try to insert record like this, it might be possible that MySQL will be saved in name or Alex will be saved in course. It is possible. Okay, so which approach you need to follow, or which approach I recommend you? This one. Okay. So guys, you can see that you can insert records into your table by using these two SQL commands. The difference between this and the difference between this is, if you are sure, okay, that if you are very well about, or if you know this very well, that in the first I have ID, name and course, if you can keep this information in your mind, then you don't need to specify the column names, or you don't need to specify the field name. But if you are not very sure that is this one will going to be in ID, is this John is going to be in name, or is this SQL is going to be course, then follow this approach. This is the only difference. If you are very confident enough, then do not write the field name. By writing this query, it will guarantee that one will goes into the name, John will goes into the one will go into the ID, John will go to the name, SQL will go to the course. And this approach you can use when you are very confident enough, when you know the hierarchy. Means you know that in first I am going to insert ID, in second I am going to insert name, and in third I am going to insert course detail. If you are very confident enough, then you don't need to specify the field name. Both are the valid approach of inserting the records in a table. Now what if you want to insert multiple records? Okay, so if you want to insert multiple records, then this is the command which you can use. Insert into your table. Okay, I'm going to use the approach which we are going to follow, ID, name, course. Okay, and now here I'm going to use values. So this is going to be my first value. In ID I'm going to write 3. Name, let's say, will be Tom. Okay, and he is enrolled for, let's say, Power BI. Okay, so guys, this command will help you to understand how we can insert multiple records. If you observe one thing, this time I'm not going to make a use of a comma, I'm not going to make a use of a semicolon, I will be using comma, and here I'm going to write another value, 4. Okay, let's say Marina. Okay, and she is enrolled for Python. One more record I'm going to insert. This time again, guys, you can see that I'm not going to use semicolon, I will be using comma, 5. Okay, and the name will be Smith, and he's enrolled for, let's say, Python, or let's say I'll change the name HTML. Okay, and once you are done that, okay, I'm going to insert these multiple records only, now you can press semicolon. So guys, if you want to insert multiple records all together, this is the syntax you need to follow. Okay, here what will happen, this insert into command will insert 3 rows in your table. Okay, and the moment when I press enter, you can see query OK. This time 3 rows affected, means 3 row is been inserted, and in 10 seconds. So we have no duplicates value, we don't have any warning, means our query is perfectly fine. Okay, so as of now we have learned about that how we can create a database, how to use that database, create a table, how you can check the structure of a table, and how you can insert records. So records can be inserted either in this way, or if you're very sure about, you know that the first will be ID, name and course, then you can use this approach as well. And if you want to insert multiple record, you can use this one. Now we are going to start with SQL select statement.